It's about revisiting through the eyes of a 9-year-old the trauma and the joy of a family in conflict inside and outside their home. He's from Belfast. He describes his music as the music of a corner boy. A corner boy being one of those kids that you see on the street who basically lives on the street. That's where the music came from, and also from the records that his father brought from America, soul records, that changed his life. He was just a little bit older than me, and he knows the city well. So in addition to the existing songs and one new song that he wrote for the film, he also wrote the saxophone and electric piano sort of mood music that is in there. His feeling and understanding for the city, where he still lives for part of the year, is very deep. So his voice, so soulful, somehow is emblematic of that city. I think that my family wouldn't have characterized themselves that way because they had a sort of level of economic opportunity. Their escape route, contained a job for my father and the possibility of a rented house. And so I think that they would have been almost in a way too sort of proud to call themselves refugees, and also feeling as though many other people were in much worse situations. However, it's true that the conflict for lots of people produced very hard choices about whether to stay or whether to leave, and if you left, what was your escape route? So if not refugees, they were certainly part of a massive population change. That month of August in 1969, because of all of the displacement, was the greatest displacement of a population in a city in Europe since the Second World War. I wanted to try and open up with the specificity of what happened in Belfast, nevertheless to sort of keep it universal, and partly through Buddy's eyes as a film goer. In watching westerns, I seemed never to remember a name. Mothers were called Ma, fathers were called Pa, and in fact I ended up using for the villain, if you like, the name Billy Clanton. Clanton was the family who were involved in the gunfight at the OK Corral. Clanton and his family were against Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, and so that I wanted to somehow articulate the way in which Buddy was trying to see his world. The world was shaking and uncertain, so he looked for what little reference and experience he could have as a 9-year-old, and much of it came from television or film. And so somehow trying to, let that be in the story and let the audience understand that resonance was behind not being so documentary authentic. Yeah, it was the escape route. It was the place, it was the way to understand. I mean, so you had the life of the street, but that changed because it was barricaded and surrounded by barbed wire. You had the church, which was terrifying because, a finger was wagging at you about what you needed to do and how easily you could mess things up. And that being haunted by the idea of which road to remember, you'd think it's silly. There's only two choices. How hard is that? Well, if you think about it for long enough, you start to completely lose your way. Is the straight one, the good one, the long and winding one? And then cinema and TV become the other places to go to try and find a way to understand what's around you. And the color of 60s cinema, big widescreen cinema, that absolutely knocked me for six. It was so exciting. And it's partly why it's in black and white, from those grey northern climes of Belfast, where there's a lot of rain, and we're on the same latitude as Reykjavik. It's cold. When you saw the color of something like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, or 1 Million Years BC, or The Great Escape, or any number of 60s movies, you were lit up inside. So I ran to that darkened room. Yeah, it was that's what it did to my brain. That when I saw him, that's what it did to my brain. It completely lit me up. And the same way with the one trip I made to the theatre, where in addition to that, there was this thing, oh my God, they are literally there. I could touch them, you know. But they were also, both on stage and on screen, they were as far away as the moon. And for me, the idea of having that kid do what I really did, which is sit on a pavement outside a betting shop while my father put some money on the horses, reading the Thor comic, you know, realizing 50 years on, boy, that kid went all the way to Hollywood to make the film of that comic. For me, that was sort of fairly mind-blowing to revisit.